Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. This astrology report is for the week of July 14th, and we started off the week with the very first astrological event of the day being the Cancer new moon. And it is a time for reset. It is a time of new beginnings and for planting some new seeds in terms of the Cancer area of our life. This week is also a very big pileup of planets in a quite benevolent configuration called a Cradle. And this has to do with the minor grand trine that the outer planets have been configuring over the past 8 months or so. We've seen the outer planets, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, all move into this minor grand trine that's 2 sextiles and a trine. And this is a very helpful and supportive aspect. And it's said to be pretty life-changing. It's changing some greater structures in society and is leading us into a new reality and a shift of the way that we live our lives and that society lives. And it's very interesting. My number here in the cosmic community is definitely 444, as you all know. And this cradle aspect this week that is being perfected when Jupiter moves into 4 degrees of Leo, and all of these planets are going to be at 4 degrees. So it is a 4-4-4-4 cradle, and it's leading us into a whole new world, an entire new perspective. So that is on the docket for this week, and also Mars in a sextile with Saturn. So that gives us some very disciplined behavior. See, Mars is the physical planet. Saturn is our planet of responsibility, taking responsibility and accountability for ourselves. And so that leads to, in a sextile, some really nice, easy, harmonious, disciplined action. So let's just back on up because it is a big week, and it starts with this very quiet moment in Cancer at 22 degrees. We have the new moon. This was at 2:43 a.m. on the 14th, and this new moon is in a conjunction with Mercury. Mercury is in Cancer in retrograde. And so we can definitely know that this new moon has to do with this Mercury retrograde and all the things that have been coming up to be redone and reorganized and edited. See, when Mercury or any planet moves retrograde, it wants to go back to past moments and take care of those things and try and get them in better order so that when that planet is all set up and moving forward again, that like things are just in a better way. They're more efficient. The mistakes that we made during the build up to the retrograde, hopefully we've gone back and fixed by the time that it starts moving forward again. So this new moon can definitely lead us into past places. And Cancer is absolutely a sign that has to do with the past, because Cancer is rooted in our childhood. And so Cancer representing the great mother, this is where we tend to go when Cancer energy comes in to our childhood, and sometimes to those things that happened in our childhood that are maybe coming back up that we need to set new intentions around. With this new moon, plant some new seeds, enter a new cycle, realize that the previous cycles are finished and that it's time to move into the new. And Cancer is about the homeland. It's about foundational energies, where we came from, and those original imprints that were put on us as children. And this is a very emotional sign because it's a water sign. And it's, kind of lives around those childhood roots, and sometimes can trigger those traumas that took place when we were young, and then can also bring in a lot of emotional energy, bring up our emotional needs that have been deeply rooted in us from childhood. So this is a beautiful place to stop, reflect. We've got that watery, emotional motherhood, setting a foundation for this next new cycle. And that is a 6-month cycle because of the full moons and the new moons working together. The full moons and new moons in each sign come 6 months apart from each other. So this is closing out that last 6-month cycle since the Cancer full moon. And then also resetting that 12-month cycle from beyond back when we had the Cancer new moon in 2025. And then also resetting that cycle for the next 6 months and 12 months. And then after we have done all of this work on the 14th, the moon moves into Leo, and it brings a shift to the vibe. It moves into a fire sign. We become a little more dramatic and passionate and not afraid to be out in the spotlight and to be more outwardly expressing with this fire sign of Leo. And there's big energy in Leo right now because Jupiter has moved there and is slowly creeping into this cradle aspect with the outer planets this week. So, I mean, once this Leo moon hits on the later in the day on the 14th, it's like all drama, all passion, all big exaggerated energy because the moon is going to conjunct Jupiter on the 14th, and Jupiter expands everything and makes it bigger. And since Leo is already a pretty big outward sign, it just gets more intense and more energetic. And so as we move to the 15th with the Leo moon, this is where we see our first perfected aspect with this cradle this week. So at 4 degrees of Gemini and Aries, Uranus and Neptune make their perfect sextile. And a sextile is a smooth, harmonious aspect. Uranus is the planet of surprise and awakening and innovation. And Neptune is the planet of hopes and dreams and desires. So when we get these two planets together, joining in this easy, balanced aspect, it is all about having innovative dreams and having new and interesting awakenings to hopes and desires in yourself. Neptune is about our highest connection to source. And so it's like that intuition, that knowing, the knowing of the water signs, all the water signs. Neptune rules Pisces. So it's like Pisces is the most intuitive sign. So Neptune is that connection to the highest intuition. And so new opportunities become available. There's a new reality coming upon us. We are very aware of it, and we are actively tapping in as we are following the astrology, knowing that this is an opportunity for newness, for diving in, tapping in to this new reality and how we need to be innovative to get our hopes and dreams and desires and get to those places where we need to be and make our intuition become the strongest connection to knowing that we can possibly have. See, Uranus sextile Neptune, because it's like Uranus wants to jump, take the leap, be spontaneous. And Neptune is that highest, most intuitive connection. This is a great risk-taking energy because we should have that knowing, right? Going, no, this is worth it. Let's do it. And so taking risks, and also with that fiery Aries infused Neptune, it's strong and determined and ready to be bold and be a warrior and be Mars ruled and just go for it. As the 16th of July rolls around, we have the moon moving into Virgo. an earth sign. And so we have another shift of the mood. The moon moves through the signs every 2.5 days. So if you don't like the mood, just wait 2.5 days and it will change when that moon moves into Virgo. We are Mercury ruled. And remember, Mercury is deep in that retrograde cycle, bringing up the past, dealing with things that need to be redone, redistributed, reorganized. And Virgo is the organizer. So we get grounded, we get practical. And as soon as the moon moves into Virgo, is going to make a conjunction with the South Node. And the South Node is all about detox and purging and releasing. And so with Virgo being that logical, detail-oriented, ultimately the most efficient of all signs, that's when we know that this South Node is working efficiently alongside, because it knows what needs to be detoxed, purged, what's not working, because Virgo is Mercury ruled and it's heady and it thinks about stuff a little bit and it's more rational. And it says, these are the things I've got. This is the energy that I have to work with. And so this is what I will focus on right now. So it's a very realistic, like more linear style of thinking, more of that Mercury heady thinking. And so we tend to make a lot of like practical improvements, and things just get more efficient with Virgo, and it becomes about work and service and health. And we just get more down to earth about that. With this South Node is moving into the 1 degree point. And so it's becoming very critical. There's critical purges, critical detoxes. It's like absolutely necessary on the 16th and 17th that we tap into this Virgo moon and the South Node energy and release what is not working for us right now, because this new reality is upon us. And by the 17th, we have Uranus at 4 degrees of Gemini, making the perfect trine with Pluto at 4 degrees of Aquarius. This is an air trine, and air is a very interesting energy. See, air is about change. It's about shifting. It's about things moving around, and it's also about communicating and talking and airing out the room. Uranus is a pretty wild energy. And this day on the 17th is also sort of a tough lunar day too, because there are multiple inconjuncts and squares going on the 17th. It could be a tough day of the week, could have some pressure that builds, some pressure around commitments that we've made and things that we are needing to take care of. And then there's also this wild card energy in the air with this air trine between Uranus and Pluto, and this is ultimately supportive. So whatever floats around, whatever moves around and changes is going to be supportive for our most benevolent outcome. And it flows. Okay. It's also a very futuristic energy with Uranus. See, it wants to set things straight for the future, and so that we can leave permanently behind Pluto all of the areas that aren't working. So you can kind of start to see the theme for the week. It's really about taking that next step into this new paradigm, into this new reality that we are creating. Pluto is like super intense though. So the day of the 17th it looks to be kind of an intense day, but like whatever takes place could be very social, out with groups and socializing, Gemini Aquarius, and have to do with like technology and science because of Uranus. And ultimately this whole thing is ruled by Mercury in retrograde, because Pluto's ruled by Uranus. Uranus is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is retrograde. So expect on the 17th some of those retrograde issues to come up, right? Challenges, breakdowns, technological things not working. On the 18th, we see the moon move into Libra, and this is another change of energy. We get more of the air signs available here. And Libra is all about the other person. It's all about relationships, but it's the most harmonious, it's the most balanced and cooperative type of energy. So with a Libra moon, it's very, very good for improvement of relationships and creating more efficiency in relationships also, because Libra is just all about the other person. We can see in relationships those areas that really help us to connect and be more charismatic with others. There's also a finger of God aspect with the moon on the 18th. Finger of God aspects with the moon are always fast moving, but when it does take place, we know that there is going to be something that we need to make some adjustments to. And then on the 19th of July, this is where we get Mars in a sextile with Saturn. This one is at 14 degrees, Gemini and Aries. So check out your chart this week. 4 degrees, absolutely, of every sign being stimulated. 22 degrees because of that Cancer new moon on the 14th, 22 degrees of any sign and planet point in your chart. And then also this 14 degree point with this perfect sextile between Mars and Saturn on the 19th. This is where we get disciplined about the action that we're taking because Saturn slows Mars down. Any Mars-Saturn aspects are always really interesting because they're two masculine energies. But Mars is like the young teenager energy that's like not thinking about things and just going and doing things and pushing through with the muscle and bold and strong. And then Saturn is like the mature male energy where it's thinking things out, putting healthy boundaries on situations, taking full accountability for self and impact on others. And Saturn also has to think about the karma that it's building because it's really concerned about that and wants to keep that harmonious here. And so, yeah, this is really good for just disciplined action on the 19th with Mars sextile Saturn. And that takes us to the 20th. And this is another day where we see this 4 degree point firing up in the chart because Jupiter moves into 4 degrees of Leo and Jupiter expands this whole thing and blows it up. It's gonna get hot in here because Leo with Jupiter is fire on fire. And so it's dramatic. It's passionate. We have action taking place. And this is where Jupiter is expanding all of the opportunity within this development, leading us towards this new reality, this new paradigm that we are building into the future. Gets blown up and Jupiter gets to bring in more opportunity and then create this grander vision around it too, because that's a Sagittarius quality. Jupiter rules Sagittarius and they are the visionaries. They see the big picture. So a bigger picture could sort of come into play on the 20th, come into view. And we go, wait a second, I'm seeing things on a totally different level. And what I'm seeing is that all my opportunities are being expanded here. I'm feeling passionate. I'm feeling like going out and getting some attention and going out in the open and creating some situations for myself, being inspired to go big or go home. Because later that day, Jupiter makes a perfect opposition to Pluto, as Pluto is a permanent change and fix to the future. Pluto is like that. Pluto-Jupiter is like go big or go home. And Jupiter on one side saying we have endless opportunity. Pluto on the other saying, are you sure about it? I still kind of want to hold on to my fears and my shadow areas around this. So an opposition is always the opportunity to make a decision between those two sides. So we're going to have Jupiter expanding, bringing lots of heat into Leo. We're going to have Pluto creating these transitional opportunities where we can permanently move and shift into this new reality that we're creating, and with an enthusiastic edge, because Jupiter's like excited about it. It's got energy and enthusiasm, and it's super positive. But no matter what happens this week, it is going to build and build and build and get kind of bigger. And then it will stay also in this kind of big, intense reality with Jupiter at 4 degrees for like the next couple of weeks. And then Jupiter will start to move on. We'll release the 4-4-4-4 cradle, but I'm gonna definitely look for my big opportunities over the next couple of weeks. The next few weeks could be very, very exciting. Some totally spontaneous developments could come into play, and it could just be a whole new world out there. So I really appreciate you being tuned in here to the Cosmic Community Astrology. And that's with your Galactic Ambassador, Stacey Dredd. And I hope you have an amazing week. And I will talk to you soon. Take care. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.